Hello, everyone. It's Jaden for Student Pages. Hope you're all doing well. Today we have another artist interview for you guys. We are here with Lusaint. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
No, absolutely. It's our pleasure. So, you are a Mancunian musician. Love Manchester. Brilliant place. Um, and yeah, you've just released your brand new single, Neon Lights. How are you feeling?
Really good. I'm so happy with the response so far. It's been a really incredible couple of weeks. And being well, having music released again in 2025 and having music out there again, I suppose you never know how it's going to go, but we've already had two Radio 1 spins, which has been incredible. We've had so much support from BBC Manchester, and BBC Introducing as well. And yeah, I'm really excited for the rest of the year.
Ah, that's awesome because it's just one song out of a larger EP, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're going to release well, it's an 8-track EP essentially, but we're going to do one side of it with 4 tracks from the start of the year for the next few months, and then towards the end of the year we're going to do the other four. So yeah, really excited. It's called Apothecary. Yeah, it's a very exciting year for sure.
Yeah, no, awesome. I mean, it's a great song to kick it off with as well because I did listen to the song and it's great, you know. I really like I didn't know something immediately came to mind when I listened to it. I don't know if you know like lo-fi music, but like it had that sort of
Yeah.
beat to it, and I was like, I'm a fan
Okay,
of
I
this, you
like
know. It's
that.
it's a really great song to start things off with. So
Oh,
yeah,
thank
massive
you.
congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we kind of wanted to bring in, I guess, more of a neo soul sound. I think most of my music, especially at the beginning of last year as well, when I released my first EP, we started on a track called Dark Horse, which again kind of brought in that neo soul jazz sound, and I really wanted to kick the year off with that kind of feel again. I think a lot of my music is sort of more jazz, soul, and pop, but I love like myself. Regardless of being an artist, just kind of what I listen to. I do listen to a lot of neo soul, and I love that kind of style. And when I wrote that song in particular, I wrote it actually about 4 years ago. Um, and yeah, it was something that I felt was the right time to bring out. So really happy with it.
I know, it's fantastic. So backtracking a little bit, if you could just tell the people at home how you sort of got into the music industry to start with, because everyone has a very different story here, I think.
Yeah, of course. So I probably started back in 2020, I think. It was when Love Island was on our screens and was the height of the music industry at the time. And a lot of songs were sort of either going viral on there or yeah, it just seemed to be the time that Love Island was kind of finding a lot of new artists. So yeah, it was 2020. I had a cover that was played on there called More Than Friends, and that had about 45,000 Shazams, I think, in one night, which went crazy. Before that
Yeah,
point,
I
I probably
saw. Yeah.
yeah. So before that point, I probably had about 5 tracks on my Spotify that were all covers. At this point, I'd never even kind of delved into my original music. I'd always wanted to, but I'd never kind of got into it enough to a point that I was ready to release anything. So I had some covers out there. This track went viral, and then within 24 hours, it was kind of like my whole world was opened up to the music industry, to a lot of writers, a lot of producers, my manager, music lawyers, all of these crazy things that were happening so quickly that I was completely overwhelmed, didn't know what to do, and had a bit of a meltdown, truth be told. And I kind of thought, okay, where do I take this now? I've kind of got this door that's open. Where do I want to take it, and what do I want to do with my career? And I knew that I'd always wanted to release original music. That was always something that had been on my top of my list that I knew I wanted to do. So I quickly found a manager and he introduced me to a lot of new writers and producers. I started working with them for about a year to 2 years to kind of really find my sound, figure out where I wanted to take everything. And because of the song that I'd released that was a cover, it was a ballad. So I think a lot of the writers kind of felt like that was kind of the way forward for me to go. And as much as I loved writing this music, I loved performing this music, I still felt like there was something missing from my sound. And from what sorry, one second. How do I get this back? Sorry. Oh no!
Technical
Okay, it's okay.
difficulties.
Okay. Sorry. So basically, I always felt like there was something missing from my music. I listened in general to a lot of jazz. I listened to a lot of soul music, Ella Fitzgerald, Nina Simone, Billie Holiday, Chet Baker. That's always my go-to every day. And I knew that in some way, shape, or form, I needed to fit this music into my own. So I was working with another producer at the time that I thought could potentially work around this and help me out. And he massively did. I went after working on so many different ballads, and I was working on one specific project at the time. In London, I went back to my hotel room that night, had a bit of a meltdown because I didn't know where I wanted to take my music. So I just thought, I'm just going to put so many melodies and random stuff in my phone, in my voice notes, put it out there. Everything that I'm feeling, just put it into my phone. And I then took it back to him the next day, and we'd written the first two singles of my last EP within 2 hours. And
Wow.
from that moment of, okay, this is where I know my sound stands and I feel so comfortable. It was like a weight was off my shoulders. I knew that this was the sound that I wanted to create. So from then on, we've been working together ever since, and we've written all of our, um, yeah, all of the songs that I do are pretty much just myself and him. And obviously, occasionally we'll bring in other writers as well, and occasionally other producers, but it's mainly just myself and him. He's called, I keep saying him, he's called Bjorn Woodhall, and yeah, we've been working on the music ever since, and it's just kind of been a process from there, really. And we started releasing about a year ago. So yeah, it's been a crazy journey so far, but a great one, a really great one.
Yeah, no, it sounds it. I'm really glad that you sort of didn't just stick to, what you know, and instead decided to actually explore what you wanted to do. I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
So
I think there's a lot of finding yourself that you need to do within music. I think there's so much about me and my journey that as much as it was incredible to write those songs originally and to figure out that I was still okay at writing those ballads and I could perform them well. And I always actually found in a live sense, because I only really got to perform those ballads a couple of times. And I have to say, I've never ever been so nervous in my life to perform those songs with a band compared to now, which is, everything feels so much more comfortable and so much more at ease because I feel like I've actually found myself and found who I wanted to be as an artist. And there's something really comforting about that.
yeah, no, that's wonderful. So for the new song specifically, Neon Lights, how would you say that one, like what was the creative process behind that specifically?
I think for me in general when it comes to Manchester and Manchester music, there's so many iconic artists that have come from the city. And as much as I love being from there and I'm so proud of being from there, I felt and still feel like there's not enough opportunity for Mancunians in general and Northern artists to kind of pursue a career in their field and in the music field to kind of progress onto a sort of music industry level. I think that it's really lacking, and that was something that I really felt like I wanted to write about. And Neon Lights is about finding something outside of Manchester that is almost like it's untouchable. Um, when I wrote it, it was basically about wanting to get out of that city in order to uh, progress onto something bigger and better. And I guess that was London, really, because I knew that everything that I was managing to achieve was all London based, and those to kind of put into perspective Neon Lights, it was if there was this, you know, huge sort of fanfare almost in London that was this big music industry affair that isn't necessarily in Manchester, which I think is quite sad in a way. Obviously, there is it's got better. There is more opportunity now than there was even when I wrote this song, because I did write it a long time ago. Um, but yeah, I think it was just about the song in general is about moving on to bigger and better things and wanting something more from your life. I mentioned in there a lot about Tib Street, which is a street in the Northern Quarter in Manchester, which is where I first started singing at a jazz club there, like many, many years ago. And when I first started, as much as it was so amazing and to have myself singing in this club for the first time and feeling like I was doing something, I found that over time I was still walking the same streets and doing the same thing and having the same routine and nothing was really changing. And it did take, I suppose, my break, if you like, was from the TV show. And it just kind of goes to show that one small thing or social media or just a viral moment can really change your life. And without that and without that producer choosing that song that one evening, I don't really know where I'd be right now. But I'd obviously do everything that I could on social media to get my voice out there and to hopefully have my voice heard. But yeah, I think when I first wrote Neon Lights, it was very much about that and just yeah, wanting more from my life, really.
Yeah, so sort of those crossroads, really, I suppose, where what seemed like very sudden actions or decisions have sort of very much caused this huge spiral of where your life's gone from that point, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, over time, obviously, as my career has progressed, and last year was the first time I went on tour in France, and we had sold out shows, and the fact that my music is now in European countries on radio, and these things are happening, it all feels very surreal, and I think even just from writing Neon Lights 4 years ago and seeing where my journey has taken me within that time, it's been a wild ride, but a very amazing ride.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's been awesome for you. I mean, on the topic of tours, actually, you're actually going touring again, aren't you, next month, I believe?
Yes, so we're doing UK pretty much for the first time, really. We've not performed in the UK properly yet, especially with the band. So yeah, I've got the 12th of March at Camden Assembly and the 14th of March at Night and Day in Manchester. And then I'm also playing in Dublin as well on the 8th of March.
That's ridiculously exciting. I mean, how are you feeling? You excited? You're a bit nervous, or what's the
Yeah,
vibe?
I haven't actually really let it sink in yet. I think I'm still not over my tour that I did because it was the most incredible, insane, strange tour of my life last year. And I mean, I was with my band. It was with a group of seven boys in on a bus together, and I'm still not over it really. I'm still it was it was a lot. It was a lot, but it was amazing. And you know, to do these 3 dates in the UK and especially to be performing in my hometown, I'm so excited for that. I think we're almost at capacity as well, is just unbelievable. And yeah, it's just to I think to be honest, to play at that venue, especially night and day, is somewhere that I've always loved going to see other artists. So to be doing that as a headline show there is really special.
Yeah, I mean, it must feel very sort of full circle, I guess, from going, doing covers to now actually selling out shows of people who want to see music you have curated. It's like that must be absolutely insane. I can't even imagine putting myself in those shoes.
Yeah, it really is. And as much as I still obviously have those covers up on my Spotify now, which I think, there's a lot of me that cringes a little bit about some of those covers, but they kind of made me become the artist that I am. And I think that was as much as that was a whole different kind of part of my life, it still helped me sort of figure out what I wanted to do, recognize that I didn't necessarily want to record ballads anymore, and that I wanted to do something completely different. But I'm still very proud of the journey that this path has taken me. I think it's all, you're learning something new about yourself every day. And I think there's going to be mistakes along the way. There's going to be hiccups, but there's also going to be so many amazing days that you just have to, yeah, it's all one big process, but it's really been amazing.
Yeah, no, I think it's great that you kept the covers up as well, because I'm personally a big believer in, sort of respecting your own personal legacy. I don't think there's any point in hiding where you started or, what got you to where you are. I think it's great that you're sort of able to, embrace that and view it as, part of yourself.
Yeah, I think there was definitely, when I did start releasing music, we thought, oh, should we just take them down because, we don't want it to mess anything up with the original project. But, it's like you say, it's totally part of the journey and it's got me to where I am right now. So you just got to embrace it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, I doubt you've done it all on your own, so how has it sort of been, with the people around you, in your life? It's like, how have they been throughout this entire journey? Have they been generally supportive? You had any doubts in there, or has it all been very, jolly for you?
Yeah, I think, even when I first decided that I wanted to take this step of making a career, essentially, I think even my parents were a bit like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Are you sure that this will, make you enough money and you'll be able to survive with this kind of career? And luckily, it's been okay so far, and we've done it. And I feel really, really proud of that. And I think there's always going to be doubts from family and friends because it's kind of unheard of in a lot of places, especially in Manchester, especially in like a
Yeah.
northern town, and especially from where I'm from, to have a music career is very unheard of. So I think that there were always a few doubts, but they've always had a belief in me from the start that has kind of kept me going. And I think also having the best team around me possible, with my music, my manager, and my producer who I work with constantly, without their support, and because it can be very overwhelming. Like every day is overwhelming for me, and everything that you have to do on social media as well. And it's a lot. There's a lot to do within the job. It's not just a simple case of writing music and singing it. There's so much more to it. So I think it's having those right people around you is really beneficial to your entire career, and I feel really grateful to have those people on board with me for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's wonderful to know that sort of, you've had that level of support. I think it's worth mentioning as well. It's like, have you ever had any sort of, critical backlash from your music? Because again, it's like the critics these days can be very, tight-fisted, I suppose. So have you had anything like that yet, or has it all been positive so far?
um Luckily, I've been all right so far. It's been okay. You'll always get the odd one. I mean, I started posting. Obviously, I'm on all platforms as well, and on YouTube, I'd say is maybe the most brutal. But I've basically got one video out there. I released before I started releasing any original music. I decided to put up one cover of Wicked Game, which is by Chris Isaac. I put one video up of that, and that has now reached about 30 million views, which is sort of something crazy. So
30 million, 3-0.
within those 30 million views, you're gonna have the odd weirdo that sends crazy things through that you just have to take on the chin and get on with. And I think that comes with all social media. There's always gonna be some crazy people out there that are just keyboard warriors that try and put you down, and you just have to brush it off and move on. And I think that it's becoming more and more now, isn't it? There's so many trolls about, and there will be the occasional comment, but I just swipe, pass on, pass, pass, pass.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I mean, but to be fair, with that level of exposure, I bet all the positive ones are probably drowning, the negatives out. I mean,
Oh,
30 million is
absolutely, yeah.
insane.
Absolutely, yeah. I think when you get that one nasty comment, it sticks with you for life, really, which is awful, but it does. You always remember the bad ones. But yeah, you've just got to try and brush it off and move on.
Yeah. I mean,
But
on a sort of similar
generally,
topic.
we get the nice people, the good comments, the supporters, which
Yeah.
is nice.
Yeah, no, that is great. So, on a similar sort of topic then, would you say that sort of your methods of making music and sort of just the art of making music and stuff, has that got you through any like particularly difficult times in your life? Like, do you sort of use it as not as an escape per se, but sort of like, do you use it as something to fuel you, and do you use it as something that's, a really big part of you?
Yeah, massively. I think, I was only saying it the other day that whenever I skip doing music for a week, that I feel that my mental health starts to kind of kick in, and I really struggle with anxiety. And that is definitely my savior. Music is always my savior. I think if I don't, it's not so much listening to music, but if I don't sing, if I don't use my voice, if I don't write music, if I don't put something in my notebook about what I'm feeling or what I'm going through, then it really affects me. So I have to make it, even if I've got a full busy week, I will still make sure that I get home and I go to my studio and I write and just put things down a microphone or just do whatever I can, because within 20 minutes I'm kind of not healed, but I feel a lot better than I did. So yeah, there's, everything that I've written about from my last EP was something that I was going through. It was not really knowing what was happening with my career. Before that, I was kind of going job to job, not knowing where my life was heading, and kind of, I guess, maybe realizing that music wasn't something that I could do because I didn't know if I had um, the right support network, and didn't know if my music was even going to do anything. And if that would have been the case, then you know so be it. But I kind of knew, and I have always known in my mind, that if I didn't have music in my life, then I'd be very distraught. So I think the fact that it is working and the music is resonating with people, and even in other countries, people are listening to it on a daily basis. Radio stations want to play it. It feels really amazing, and that people want to listen to me, and this has now become my career, and it feels incredible. So I think it's just one thing that I will say to other people as well out there that are on this journey, is to just not give up, because I think there's so many times in my career so far, and I've not even been doing it for that long, but where you feel like quitting because you feel like you're not good enough, or you feel like you haven't got the right sort of network to be able to continue. But what will be will be. And I think that having released my music and just gotten it out there, because I wasn't doing that before. I had a bunch of music that I had written but I'd never explored, and the minute that I put that music out there, and to see it grow, is yeah, it's a whole other experience. So I feel quite proud of myself that I didn't give up.
Yeah, no, and you should be as well. I think, first of all, thank you for sharing that. And second of all, I think that's, really powerful as well. Like, I think music is such a beautiful outlet to have, especially when you're struggling. So yeah, I think that's absolutely wonderful. Also, I do apologize. I think the sun's coming out and it's turning me into a ghost. Um, but yeah, no, but yeah, no, thank you very much for sharing that. That's really sweet. We spoke briefly about social media as well. You brought it up a few times. I do think it's worth sort of asking, how significant has social media been in, sort of building your brand and, your music and things like that? How's that process been for you?
Yeah, it's been really amazing, since I also put out that I was performing or doing this UK tour, to see my fans engage with that really for the first time, because this is the first sort of UK thing that I've done. To see people really engage with it and see those ticket numbers growing and everything's happening online. Like, I've got the broadcast channel that is out on my Instagram as well, and even on YouTube Shorts, like to see your fans react to a tour or music that you put out. You've actually got people there that are waiting for it. And I had a vinyl as well for my last EP, Self Sabotage, and it took a while to get that EP, that vinyl out to people. But once it did, like, to see them playing that vinyl in their living rooms on their vinyl player, and so many stories that I can just keep reposting, it feels incredible to have that um, fan base, I suppose, to give you that support and moral support that you really need in this career, for sure. But yeah, social media has played a huge part, and I think you know without those people on my accounts that are following and being so supportive, I wouldn't be able to do this. So yeah, it's been huge. It's been really huge.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that you use social media as sort of a platform to reach fans and stuff, and not just as a means of promotion. I think that's, something really nice to actually be able to engage with people that like your craft, that people, are engaging, I suppose, it's just been nice to know.
Yeah, massively. I think, I'm not the biggest lover of social media. I never have been, but I realize how crucial it is in order to have these platforms that can really help gain you that support in so many more ways than you think. And, even in lockdown, I started um, just putting some covers out there. Again, this was before I'd really delved into my original music, but even just putting those covers out there, and to see the natural progression of these covers that were just going out to so many people, and then they stuck with me from that point, and from that journey of going from covers to originals and them sticking by me and coming to my shows and always writing on my feed and being so supportive. It really means a lot. It really does.
Yeah. No, that's really nice. That's beautiful. That so the music industry obviously is huge, but you said that in Manchester, it hasn't sort of been that you know, there hasn't really been that much opportunity for musicians living there. So, how has it felt now as an artist? Do you have any sort of connections with other musicians? And if so, it's like, how has it felt to sort of go from, I don't know anyone else that's doing this to suddenly being exposed to, wow, there's that many people that are doing this?
Yeah, I think, Manchester in general, I mean, I've always played in bars and restaurants around Manchester, and that was kind of my introduction, if you like, to a type of industry that there is in Manchester because everybody knows each other, all musicians know each other, and there is a real community feel. So, even my band that I have now that are all in Manchester, I will continue to use them for the rest of time because they have almost like grown up with me. When I've played in restaurants, bars, even the occasional wedding, they've always been by my side and always, I guess, been that support network for me. And I think the fact that, there are so many incredible musicians in Manchester, I feel like there just needs to be something almost put in place in order for the music industry to hear like how incredible they are. And I think that there's definitely a way in Manchester, and I mean I know I have it where there's a lot of self doubt and not believing that you're good enough. But honestly, these musicians that I've grown up with are the most incredible, and I think it almost feels like a real shame to not have their name out there in lights because they've just kind of been on this journey with me for so long and are so incredible. But yeah, I think there are many, many people in Manchester that are trying to become musicians, trying to become singers, and it's almost in some ways I guess this is why social media is so important to be able to get your voice out there and to be known. Um, but yeah, I'd say being in Manchester, most of what has happened to me has happened in London, which I do find is a real shame and something needs to be put in place there. But there are ways of doing it, and there are writers there are producers there. Um, and I will always, always be so proud of the fact that I am from Manchester and will never ever give that up for anything because I think it's yeah, it's been a huge part of me and who I am.
Yeah, no, totally. Manchester's awesome. Like, it's one of the most diverse, like, places in the UK. You can just find anyone of any description in Manchester. It's awesome. It's
Yeah,
like, and the
it's so
attractions
good.
as well. It's just a beautiful place, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I feel, it's like I said even about the musicians feeling like it's a community. Manchester in general for me has always felt like a huge community. There's definitely a sense of there's so much friendliness, everybody that you kind of surround yourself with, especially, most of my time was spent in the Northern Quarter in jazz bars and kind of I guess a lot of nightlife. And when you surround yourself in that sort of hub and you are around all these incredible musicians and I was watching shows there's a place called Matt and Fred's Jazz Club, which is just on I think it is on Tib Street or Oldham Street. And yeah, it's a really incredible place to go to. I'd highly recommend if you're ever in Manchester to go there.
Also, I'll just keep it in mind. I've got my sister's in Manchester and one of my friends is as well. So yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah,
Um,
it's amazing.
yeah. So, outside of making music and outside of this industry and things like that, what do you do to keep yourself occupied? Have you got any hobbies you're particularly interested in?
Um, What do I love to do? I think I love reading a lot. I love going for walks. I think walking kind of really, really generally helps my writing. I mean, I'm constantly writing music anyway. I'm constantly putting things into my phone. And I think, I'd say 99% of my time is filled with my music. and I think without it I'd be lost. But I think in order to gain my inspiration, going on walks, going to museums, reading, watching a series or a show that I'm really passionate about, I get so much inspiration from that. Um, I also massively love, it's a bit sad, but I love like interiors. Like when I look at homes and I go on Pinterest and I get so much inspiration. I don't know why it has anything to do with music, but there's something
Hey,
creatively about it
there's
that makes
nothing
me
there's
so
nothing wrong
inspired.
with a good design.
But it makes me yeah, really, really inspired. So, and cooking as well, like food, all of these things that I guess are in some way, shape, or form a creation. It always, yeah, leads me down another road of how I can write more music, and what has inspired me that day. It just differs all the time.
Yeah, it's the life of a creative, isn't it? You can draw inspiration from literally anything.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So obviously we're student pages. We mainly target students for our, interviews and things. So for any students wanting to do what you do to sort of break into the music world, what advice have you got? Like, what would you say is their best first step?
I'd say, as unfortunate as it is, to be very consistent on social media, so be posting every day. And I think to get your voice and your music heard is the key thing that I'd say, is to just get your voice out there. No matter what you're doing on a day, like just put your phone in front of your face and just sing or do whatever it is that you can to get your voice out there. I'd also say, if you've got music and you want to, or you're thinking about releasing it, but you've got a bit of self doubt and don't know whether you should, to just get it out there. I think I kind of wasted a lot of time worrying about my music and worrying if it was right or worrying if the genre was correct for me and all of these things that, as long as you have music out there and you're being productive with your career, to just do it, like be in it, be a part of it, do it every day, make it your life. Um, that's probably the best advice I could give, because I think there's so much of this industry that is filled with self-doubt and filled with so many negatives that go on in your mind, that the best thing you can do despite everything else is just get your music out there and be heard.
No, yeah, that's brilliant advice. Yeah, that's great. So you've got the single out now. You've got an EP on the way. You're about to go touring in literally what, like few weeks at this point. So
Yeah.
what are you working on now? Have you got anything else to plug?
Well, right now I'm just working on my EP, so we're finishing off all of the tracks. We're actually going into the studio tomorrow to finish off some of the music for the second part of the EP. I'll also be playing in France this year. I've already got some dates booked in for June and July. I'll be supporting Michael Kiwanuka, which I'm really excited for because I love him as an artist, at a
Yeah,
big
wow.
festival near Lyon. So yeah, that's a huge thing for me. And then yeah, I'll be releasing some more dates as well within the next month for more shows coming up. But right now, I'm just really excited for the tour, and I can't wait to play my hometown, especially.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Sounds ridiculously exciting. So best of luck to you. Massive congratulations again. And yeah, that's about it for us. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.